Welcome back, Kevin's Mobile Repair. Got us a 2006 Lexus SC430. We're going to be doing some front pads on this, and I'll show you how to do all of this good stuff. Most Lexus Toyota pads are roughly the same throughout the years. Since this is an 06, this will work for most of the upper 90s through most of the upper 2000s until they decided to change stuff. Rear brakes going to be a little different. They got different setups. Some of them now, the new ones will have electric brakes. Some of them will still have the old mechanical brakes. That's going to be the difference on that. And of course, the rotor size and stuff will also change based off of car size and things like that. But most of these front brakes are going to be the same across the board. So I'll zip this tire off and I'll show you what we got going on. Typical setup, you're going to have little clips like this, individualized clips. The only thing you got to do is just make sure you orientate them in the correct fashion on the bracket itself. And then they will also have, some of them will have this, not all of them, but most of them will have the little spring retention clips. Those clips are designed to keep the pad from touching the rotor at all times. It gives it just a little bit of tension in order to spring itself back. A lot of cheap pad kits will not come with those clips and will not come with the springs, at least new ones at least. So you may have to reuse your old ones if you get a cheap set. Like a lot of AutoZone items are exactly like that. So, I'll show you up close. So we just have a 14mm bolt right here, one here, one here. Some of these will stick, so you get a pair of pliers, or if you want to, put a wrench in there, but it's usually pretty small to get in there. But a pair of pliers work real well. These freed up just fine. Other ones will stick, and as you rotate the bolt back here, this itself will turn. So you grab this with the pliers and rotate this to bust it free. And then once you get those freed up, then all you're going to do is finish spinning them off. Yes, you can use a ratchet. Yes, you can use a wrench. Doesn't really matter. And then these come up. So this one had both springs on it. See how thin those pads are? Yeah. So the other side only had one spring. So, but this one has both. This one also has, nope, this one's missing one too. I'll show you. See, missing one of the clips. So some people will do that. They'll, I don't know why, but they'll only put in some of the clips, not all the clips. Things like that happen. You get different brake fade. You'll have uneven wear patterns on the pads. They don't move quite as well because the clips are designed for the pad to move in and out. And if you have old clips, they're going to be nasty. I'll show you. See how nasty that is? And that pad has to move on that, compared to a nice new shiny one. And these even have different kind of retention clips as well that push up on the pad. Less movement means less noise. So always advisable to say, look at that dumbass, change that around. So in here where it sits, less movement, less ability for the pad itself to make noise. And the same way here on the back half, where it won't move inside the caliper piece. So like I said, I just take one off at a time, and you can easily match it up with the correct one based off of where that was at. And then the front piece here doesn't move. This right here is the actual spring part. So what you'll do is you'll put this piece in front and then push it down on the back. Like that. And just make sure it's seated all the way around. You can use a screwdriver, hit it right here, and it will seat it in place completely. Which I'm going to have to do with this one because it didn't quite, there you go, didn't quite go down all the way. So, same thing, just walk all the way around, match up your clips. See, that one's missing its pressure clip on that too. So just start it in the back, press it all the way forward, and there we go. Move to the back. Back one's a little more tricky, but not too bad because you can't really see. Just make sure when you take it out the same way, so that way you don't have a problem with it. You can also rotate the wheel. In this case, if you rotate it to the left, so that way the caliper pushes itself out and you're able to see everything in there easier if you needed to. Okay, all of them are seated in place. Now we're going to spring our compressor caliper back in. Normally you're going to have a slot right here where you can put a tool to retract it. You can also put something back in here when the pad is in place and squeeze it that way, but I'm still going to use my standard compression tool, which will give me enough pressure in order to push those pistons back in. But we're going to clean it up first. I'm going to use a wire wheel, clean up the surface of here, clean up the surface of here on the back half, so that way everything's nice and clean, and that way, same as usual, less issues with making noise. I'm going to squeeze this in a little bit first. Go slow. Good. Just slip them in. And they're going to look like that. See, these have little holes right there from the slide in. Some of them are fun, and that tension right there makes the pads pop out, so you have to almost have 3 hands. But if you're good enough, you can squeeze here, put one on, and then take your caliper and flip it over, so that way it sits on the place, and that way you don't have that kind of a problem. So we're slipping the caliper back on. These slides are nice and lubed still. I was able to push them in really easy. If you have one that is stiff, I would take them out, clean them up, and lube them up with new lubricant. But these went in real easy with no problem. So, going back together, all you can do is just put your 14s in. Line it up. Line it up. And then tighten it up. Guten tight. German Guten type, and then make sure you rotate the wheel so that we don't have any kind of you'll see whether or not if one of these scrubbers are not in place and it's touching on the rotor, so you don't have to put everything, take it back off and figure out what's going on. That's just a good rule of thumb. If you're doing that, you won't have any problems when you're putting stuff back together. Now that the wheel is back on, you can do the same thing. Tighten your lug nuts up, rotate the tire just a little bit. Once the tire's in place, everything will be set up just like it would be driving down the road. So you can rotate the wheel and see if there's any sort of noise coming from it. That way you won't have to take it all back apart again, just to check and make sure that there's a noise when you can do so right in front of the area. Also make sure that you have the correct amount of brake fluid in there. Do not top any off, because if you do so, you will overfill the reservoir. By all means necessary, you should not have to add any brake fluid to the system at any point in time, unless you have a leak or you're changing a component in the brake system. That's when you'd have to add fluid, bleed it out, so on and so forth. But if you don't have to, don't do so, because if you do, you then mess with the amount of fluid that's in there, and by doing so, the sensor that detects the low fluid will not work anymore, because you will have too much in there and your brake pads will wear out and you won't know it. Any questions or comments? Feel free to let me know.